The 23rd Psalm, probably the most quoted piece of religious text in history. But what if I told you it's actually a hidden manual for understanding the fundamental laws of the universe?
That's quite a bold statement. What makes you see it so differently from the traditional interpretation?
Well, here's something fascinating. The original translation of Lord wasn't about a deity at all. It meant law. We're talking about universal principles that govern everything from quantum physics to human consciousness.
That completely changes the context. So when it talks about the Lord is my shepherd, we're actually discussing natural laws guiding us?
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting. When you understand it this way, I shall not want becomes a statement about abundance in quantum physics. Just like energy can't be created or destroyed, the psalm suggests everything we need already exists.
That reminds me of Einstein's work on energy conservation. How does this interpretation handle the more poetic elements, like the green pastures?
Those green pastures represent something remarkable. They're describing what neuroscientists now call a flow state. When we align with universal principles, we find mental clarity regardless of external chaos. Studies show this state actually changes our brainwave patterns.
That's fascinating. So it's less about physical location and more about consciousness. What about the valley of the shadow of death part?
Well, this is where quantum physics and ancient wisdom really intersect. The text suggests death is just an illusion, a transformation of energy. Modern physics confirms this. Matter can't be destroyed, only transform. The psalm was describing quantum mechanics thousands of years before we had the science to prove it.
So how does this understanding change the way we might interpret preparing a table before enemies?
Think of it like the observer effect in quantum physics. Your consciousness actually influences reality around you. When it talks about abundance in the presence of enemies, it's describing how aligned energy creates positive outcomes regardless of external opposition.
And the famous "my cup runneth over" line, how does that fit into this framework?
That's where everything comes together beautifully. It's describing what physicists call a zero-point field, an infinite source of potential energy. The more you align with universal principles, the more abundance flows naturally. It's like a quantum feedback loop.
The implications for modern life seem pretty significant. How might someone actually apply these principles?
Well, recent studies in neuroplasticity show that when we shift our perception, we literally rewire our brains. The psalm is essentially giving us a blueprint for this process. Align with universal laws, maintain inner peace, and watch how reality responds. It's like programming the quantum field.
That's quite different from the traditional comfort-focused interpretation most people know.
Exactly right. And here's what's really mind-blowing. Modern physics is just catching up to what this ancient text was describing. When it talks about dwelling in the house of the Lord forever, it's describing a permanent state of alignment with universal principles, something quantum physicists are now calling coherence.
Looking ahead, how do you think this understanding might influence future interpretations of other ancient texts?
We're at this fascinating intersection where science and ancient wisdom are converging. As quantum physics advances, we're finding more and more evidence that these texts weren't just poetry. They were encoding universal principles in metaphor. The future of human understanding might just lie in decoding these ancient messages through the lens of modern science.
That really changes everything about how we approach these texts.
And that's precisely why this matters so much right now. As we face global challenges, understanding these universal principles isn't just academic, it's practical. The psalm isn't just telling us to trust in a higher power. It's giving us a manual for aligning with the fundamental laws that govern reality itself.